Alright, so this is video number 2 featuring some of our favorite varieties here in the New York property. And this one is our elderberry. And when I say our elderberry, I really mean ours. This is not a name variety. This is actually a seedling variety that dropped in our yard, I want to say 3 years ago at this point, maybe 4. It started fruiting, I think, by the 2nd or 3rd year, but it is an extremely vigorous elderberry that I think has a lot of potential to do good in a lot of different climates. So we did propagate this for the North Carolina farm. We are tentatively naming it Alta elderberry, just based on where it was found and some of its defining characteristics. But this elderberry was cut to the ground, some branches all the way to the ground, because again, we were propagating it and I had already taken many cuttings before. But this thing has shot up 7 feet in about 2 months. Maybe a little less than that, but I want to say this is somewhere around 2 months of growth here. And you can see at the top as I pull this tall branch down, let me see if I can grab onto that guy. It is loading up with some nice flowers on pretty much every new branch. You can see even the lower ones here are starting to flower. So this loves to flower on first year growth, but it does flower on second year growth. I believe that they're called cymes, these flower clusters. The clusters themselves are smaller on older growth, so this is one where you could just chop it back every year, sell some trees, sell some cuttings, do whatever you want with the wood, and then let it regrow for next year and get really impressive yields in just an absolutely impressive and beautiful plant here. So it's doing really well. A lot of water collects in this area, and we actually have some autumn olive growing here. Not a popular plant, but in our part of New York, it actually doesn't spread at all, really. You hardly ever see these, and I was really hunting for them at one point, but it's pretty well contained in our yard, and the nitrogen fixing, I'm sure, will have a positive impact on the elderberry right next to it here. But this is a very impressive variety. We're going to further evaluate the fruit quality and all other aspects of this plant in this year, both here and in North Carolina, and just see how it performs in these humid summer climates. But I think we got a real winner on our hands, and this is a variety I would love to distribute once we can study it just a little bit more this year and figure out some more information. But I'll show you the other clones we have of this tree, so cuttings we took maybe 2 years in that we put in the lower part of the yard near the peach trees. So I'll take you to that now. Alright, so now we are at the location for the other smaller trees that were started from cuttings around a year and a half ago. I'm not sure if it's quite 2 years yet, but these were little cuttings of the Alta elderberry that we just shoved into the ground when they had a little bit of root on them. A lot of these were extremely easy to root. We either just rooted hardwood or softwood cuttings in water, or just stuck them into some straight peat moss that was moistened. And these, you can tell, actually, I don't know if it's because of the sunlight that this one gets. This one is also somewhere in the ballpark of 7, maybe approaching 8 feet tall. And the flowers are a lot more developed. So again, this is Alta elderberry, producing some beautiful flowers. It's very vigorous, loves to pump out these flowers on this new growth here. And it makes very large berries too. And another quality I should mention, which is really nice for an elderberry, because next to it here, and we can kind of differentiate, this is a standard native American elderberry. We can differentiate it from our Alta elderberry. Well, one, the size of the leaves is massively different. If you can see these side by side, ours is huge, and it has this purple in it. And another very valuable quality is that the Alta elderberry is self-pollinating. So interestingly, the first year it flowered a lot later than anything else. And at first we didn't know if it was because it was late ripening or if it was just because it took a while to reach that maturity. But it was actually able to self-pollinate because all the other elderberries nearby were finished. All of them were done flowering, so this does also make us wonder about the genetics of this elderberry. Is it a pure American elderberry? Is it some weird hybrid with a European black elderberry with the American black elderberry? We're not sure, but some of its qualities are very interesting and very different from a lot of the other elderberries we're growing here. Again, a huge takeaway, and we're really comparing this to some other name varieties at the farm to see how they compare. But by far, this is the most vigorous we've seen, with the largest leaves, huge flower clusters at the top. It fully ripens. It has full fruit set. You hardly ever see a flower that doesn't turn into a fruit, which some of these American types can be kind of spotty, which isn't a great quality. So it's a very valuable plant in that regard, and we think this could perform well in a lot of areas, especially if you don't have a lot of wild elderberry nearby or things to pollinate this particular one. It's good to know it can do it all by itself and really have some very reliable fruit set. So just a very cool plant overall, and it's really cool to see these differences. I mean, this was just a seedling that was pooped by a bird into our yard, and now we've ended up with this incredible elderberry. So again, we will test this thoroughly this year and kind of evaluate how it compares to everything else. But I have high hopes for this thing. I think it's going to be a very functional variety, and it's pretty cool to see here. Actually, something I'm noticing with this one, not only do we have this main branch that shot up, but also kind of like these auxiliary branches here, hard to get that to focus, that are also fruiting. It's hard to see, but there's little fruit buds, and we got more and more branches popping up in between here. So this may be somewhat of a, I know they classify some of these elderberries as like indeterminate types, where they just keep on flowering and flowering even once they have fruit set on those main branches. And actually, I noticed here some of these branches have some purple in them. These are also the Alta elderberry. This is the second year growth, so it does have smaller flower clusters, but it's still flowering on all of these branches here. So it is not shy at all in the fruiting and flowering department. So it's really just an awesome plant. We'll give you guys updates and more information because we'll be ripening these on the farm, and we might be here on time for when there's fruit ripening here in New York. It all depends though. So I hope you guys are interested to see more of this, and if this is a variety that intrigues you, believe me, if it performs very well this year and we have enough data to feel confident in selling it, we will sell it at a larger scale. I think we've just distributed a few cuttings so far to let people play around with this, but it will be on the website. We have some of the information there already, and it will be for sale if this does really well for us. It roots super easily, so we'll have no problem getting out some plants pretty quickly to you guys if you are interested. So anyways, thank you for watching as always, and this is probably the last plant we will feature in our New York updates here. So lots of good content here. Always happy to see when things are growing well, even when we're not around. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.